What if everything else is working? The love, the connection, the mutual respect. But the moment she starts earning more, something shifts. Is it okay for a woman to earn more than her husband? Big question. Now, if the real threat to your relationship isn't cheating, lying, or emotional distance, but her paycheck, what if everything else is working? The love, the connection, the mutual respect. But the moment she starts earning more, something shifts. Now the energy changes, the dynamic feels off, and no one says it out loud. But suddenly there is discomfort in the room. Now, whether you admit it or not, society has wired us to believe that the man should be the provider. And when that isn't the case, when his wife becomes the financial powerhouse, it quietly shakes the foundation. Not because love is gone, but because pride starts whispering. She may begin to shrink her accomplishments to protect his confidence. He may start to pull back, feeling like less of a man, even when she's not doing anything wrong. Now, we've told women they can be anything, just not more than their man. We've told men to support strong women, but never taught them how to stand beside one without feeling small. And so now we are watching relationships struggle, not because love is lacking, but because their roles feel reversed. And no one prepared us for the emotional weight of that reversal. Why do we still see a woman's success as a threat to her partner's masculinity? Why do we praise her in public and punish her in private? Now, this isn't just about money. It's about ego. It's about identity. It's about the emotional cost of rewriting roles that were never designed to evolve. So today, we're flipping the script, confronting the discomfort, and asking the questions too many people are still afraid to face. Is it really okay for a woman to earn more than her husband? And what happens when she does? Big question. Now let's look at the history of gender and money. For most of history, money wasn't just a resource, it was a role. The man provided and the woman received. That is how respect and responsibility and leadership were defined. Men were taught to lead with their wallets. Women were taught to wait and be chosen, not because they lacked the ability, but because society denied them the opportunity that you couldn't vote, you couldn't walk freely, you couldn't build wealth without a male permission, and so on. Provisions became power. Even as the world evolved, that belief stayed rooted in our culture. A man's income became tied to his masculinity. If he earned more, he was doing his job. If he didn't, he felt less than, and often so did the people around him. Marriage wasn't just about love, it was a contract based on dependency. The man paid, the woman stayed. And for years, this worked, or at least it seemed like it did. Now, then women started to rise. They got degrees, they launched careers, built businesses, and the power structure started to shift. But something strange happened. Even as women advanced, many still expected men to out-earn them, and many men still expected the roles to change. But the roles or the rules didn't. So now we're left with couples trapped between progress and programming, celebrating equality in public, but wrestling with imbalance in the private. The male identity crisis, when a man earns less than his wife, it doesn't just challenge his budget, it often challenges his entire identity, because for generations men were taught what their worth was tied to, how well they provide, not how well they love, not how emotionally present they are, not how much peace they bring to a relationship, but how much money they bring home. So when that dynamic shifts, when the woman becomes the higher earner, so men felt lost, not because they are weak, but because they were never prepared for this role reversal. No one taught them how to feel powerful in emotional contribution, or how to lead without dominating, or how to support without providing in the traditional sense. So they stayed quiet, they smiled, but inside something starts to unravel. Some men pull back while others overcompensated. Some start arguments over small things, not because they are angry, but because they feel displaced. Their role, their pride, their sense of being needed started to feel threatened. And if that's not addressed, resentment starts to build. Not just towards their partner, but towards themselves. They start to question their value in the relationship. Where money doesn't define their role, it's a big problem. Now, this is why conversations around money and masculinity need to go deeper, because it's not just about who earns more. It's about how we define manhood in a world where provision is no longer the only path to leadership. When success creates shame for many women, earning more isn't about dominance. It's about survival, vision, and growth. She worked for it, sacrificed for it, built it, but instead of being celebrated at home, her success is met with tension, not because she's doing something wrong, but because her shine is unintentionally casting shadows on someone else's pride. So what does she do? She downplays her wins. She avoids conversations about her salary. She softens her leadership, not because she wants to, but because she learned that her power might bruise someone else's ego. And slowly, her confidence starts to feel like a liability in her own relationship. Meanwhile, he's wrestling with his own shame. Now, he may be supportive on the surface, but inside, there is a quiet fear. Am I still enough? Is she outgrowing me? Do I still lead, or have I been replaced? Not because she said those things, but because the world around him keeps sending those messages. Now, this is where love becomes layered with pressure. What should be a celebration becomes a silent tug of war, because neither person wants to hurt the other, but neither knows how to exist fully in a space where their roles no longer follow the script. Power dynamics in the home. Money doesn't just pay bills, it influences decisions, it affects tone, it shapes dynamics, and when one person earns significantly more, it can actually shift the balance of the power in ways that aren't always obvious, but deeply felt. Who decides where the family lives? Who has the final say on big purchases? Who feels like they have to ask before they act? Questions. Or when the woman earns more, she may unintentionally take on more authority, not because she's controlling, but because she feels the weight of financial responsibility. And the man, he may begin to feel like a quest in his own home. Less involved, he becomes less involved, less empowered, less respected, not because his partner disrespects him, no, but because he no longer feels like an equal contributor. And this imbalance, if left unspoken, can create resentment on both sides. Now, the woman may start to feel overwhelmed, unsupported, even silently punished for her successes. The man may feel unseen, undervalued, or quietly bitter. Small disagreements become bigger than they should be. Conversations become tense. Affection becomes scarce. Now, the truth is, money can either strengthen a partnership or slowly erode it, depending on how it is managed emotionally. Without open communication and clear emotional roles, even the most loving couples can end up trapped in a quiet competition instead of a shared vision. Respect, submission, and the modern marriage, this is where things get especially complicated, especially in relationships influenced by culture, religion, or tradition, because even in today's world, many people still equate male provision with leadership and leadership with respect. So when a woman becomes the breadwinner, some partners and even outsiders begin to question the man's role. Is he still the head of the home? Can she still submit to a man who earns less? And here is the uncomfortable truth. Some women, even those who love deeply, begin to wrestle with that shift too. Not because they are disrespectful, but because the blueprints they were raised with told them that submission follows provision. Now, when that order is flipped, they start asking silent questions. Do I still feel led? Do I trust his decisions? Am I carrying too much? Disrespect doesn't disappear overnight, but it slowly reshapes itself, and not always in a way that is healthy. But marriage today is evolving. Submission isn't about control. It's about trust. Respect isn't earned by income. It's earned by character, consistency, and communication. Leadership in modern relationships should be based on emotional maturity, not paycheck. And until couples release old scripts, they will continue to measure power by who earns more instead of who shows up with more love, more vision, and more presence. Now, the hidden pressure on women who provides will talk a lot about how men feel when they are no longer the main provider. But we don't talk about enough is how women feel when they are. Because for many women, earning more doesn't come with the freedom they actually imagined. It comes with guilt, with adjustment, with emotional weight that no one warned them about. She's proud of what she's built, but she's also carrying something heavy. Not just the bills, not just the goals, but the unspoken responsibility to keep her partner feeling secure, even if her success makes him feel small. She's not just managing her career, she's also managing his confidence. She's not just building life, she's tiptoeing through the tension between love and pride, trying not to rock the balance too much. Now, some women begin to silence themselves. They avoid talking about promotions. They hide their excitement over a bonus. They stop celebrating their growth, not because he asked them to, but because they're afraid it might bruise the man they love. And that fear becomes a pattern. Now, she keeps the peace at the cost of her voice. And here is where things get quietly dangerous. When a woman feels she has to dim her light in order to be loved, eventually she stops feeling seen altogether. Stick with me until the end of this video and you will see how this internal struggle plays out and how couples can unlearn the idea that financial power must always come with emotional imbalance, because the real pressure isn't just in her paycheck, it's in her silence. Her inner conflict, power versus peace. For many high-achieving women, the real struggle isn't just external, it is internal. She may be confident in the boardroom, decisive in business, clear in her goals, but at home, she starts questioning herself. She doesn't want to emasculate her partner. She doesn't want to lead alone. She doesn't want her ambition to feel like aggression. So now she is stuck between two identities, the woman who wants to rise and the woman who wants to keep the relationship at peace. Now she finds herself asking quiet questions. Am I too much? Should I hold back? Should I let him take the lead even when I see the better path? And that internal conflict slowly chips away at her because she doesn't want to dominate. She just wants to be herself. But if being herself makes him feel smaller, what's the cost of her success? It's a constant emotional negotiation. Now, do I speak up or stay soft? Do I step back to protect his ego? Or do I show up fully and risk the tension that might follow? And the worst part is, this isn't about control. It's about emotional survival. She is not trying to win. She's just trying not to lose. Now, everything she's worked for, or the man she's loved. Now, and this is the moment where so many women begin to compromise, not with their partner, but with themselves. They trade confidence for comforts, power for peace, and over time they stop feeling like partners and start feeling like passengers in their own relationship. Now, the relationship tipping point, every relationship that wrestles with income imbalance eventually hits a point, not always loud. It's not always dramatic, but deeply real. Now, it's the moment where love collides with ego and no one wants to say what they're really thinking. Now, she's tired of carrying everything, tired of softening herself to make the dynamic feel normal. And here, he is tired of feeling like a dependent, tired of wondering if her success means she's outgrowing him. Now, neither of them wants to hurt the other. The resentment doesn't need shouting to grow. It only needs silence. Conversations that used to feel light now feels loaded. Small disagreements start to represent something bigger. And intimacy, well, it begins to fade, not because love is gone, but because mutual admiration has quietly eroded. What once felt like a partnership now feels like emotional bookkeeping. Everyone measures what they give, what they take, and what they have lost. And here is where many couples make the mistake. They try to fix the surface without addressing the roots. They talk about chores, about bills, about respect, but never about how this dynamic made them feel less or seen or valued and less safe. Now stick with me because we're about to unpack what healthy couples do differently and how you can shift the energy in your relationship without pretending that income doesn't matter. Redefining provisions and emotional contribution. Provision is not just about money, and the sooner couples start redefining what it means to provide, the sooner they reclaim balance, peace, and mutual respect in the relationship. Because the truth is, while she may bring in the paycheck, he may be holding up the emotional roof. While she beats outside, he may be anchoring inside. Providing looks like stability, it looks like consistency, it looks like showing up for hard conversations, doing the emotional labor, parenting with presence, protecting peace, and investing in love, not just lifestyle. It's a mature relationship. Both partners contribute in ways that matter. It's just that some forms of provision come with applause and others come with silence. We celebrate the person who pays the mortgage. but often overlook the one who makes the house feel like a home. We praise the one who climbs the career ladder, but forget to thank the one who picks up the pieces when life gets messy. Healthy couples sit down and redefine the world provider, not just for the world, but for their own home. They ask, what do we both need to feel supported? How do we share the weight in ways that honor each other's strengths? And how do we make sure that no one feels small just because they don't bring in the bigger paycheck? Now, stick with me until the end for this video, because we will work real strategies to help both partners feel seen, secure, and respected, regardless of income, because provision is powerful, but so is presence. Now, let's pause here, because this isn't just about income. It's about identity. It's about partnership and the quiet rules we're still living by, even in a world that claims to have evolved. So ask yourself, if you are a woman who earns more, are you shrinking your success to protect someone else's ego? Have you ever hidden your wings not because you were ashamed, but because you didn't want to rock the relationship? Now, if you're a man who earns less, are you carrying shame? Or you've never spoken out loud? Have you ever questioned your worth, not because your partner made you feel small, but because you were taught that love is earned through financial power? Very big questions. Do you believe that respect and leadership can exist without a dollar amount attached to them? Do you see provision as something that can be emotional, spiritual, and relational, not just financial? Can both people in the relationship feel powerful even when one earns more? Now, these are the questions that matter, because the moment you stop tying power to paychecks, we create space for something deeper: mutual growth, real intimacy, true partnership. So if this resonates with you, drop your thoughts in the comments. Now tell me what stood out. What challenged you? What reminded you of your own experience? Like this video if it gave you something to think about. Share it with someone navigating this dynamic quietly. And if you want more emotionally intelligent relationship conversations that go beyond surface level advice, subscribe and follow us across all social platforms, because the future of love isn't about who makes more, it's about who shows up more. Keep rewriting the rules, keep choosing love, and never let your income define your impact. Thanks for staying with us. Bye for now.